Ladies and gentlemen, what the world has been waiting for, what the world needs now, the one, the only, amazing, original Johnny Blaze. Often imitated, but never duplicated. There's Johnny.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the original Johnny Blaze Show. It's great to be here as I blaze right in with my karate kick. Let's have a blazing hot fun time. Even though the virus is still with us, the IRS still suggests we file early to avoid someone stealing your identity. Listen, if anyone out there wants to pay my taxes for me, go right ahead. You can also mow my lawn and wash my car while you're at it. Actually, I didn't earn a nickel last year. Even though the virus kept me home, I still have to pay the IRS thousands of dollars. I asked them, why? And they said, passive income, look it up. Well, I'm not going to pay the IRS anything. If they threaten to imprison me, I'll say, hey, prison costs taxpayers a lot of money. Just keep what it would cost to incarcerate me, and we'll call it even. Don't worry about getting audited by the IRS. Simply avoid what's called a red flag. That's what the IRS always looks for. For example, if you still have some money left in the bank after paying taxes, that's a red flag. When it comes to filing taxes, there are two types of people. There are those who put off filing until the deadline, and these are called the majority. And there are those who actually file months before the deadline. These are called the psychotic. The people who cheat on their taxes truly disgust me. This is not the world that I want to raise my 27 dependents in. We have a blazing hot, very exciting show with a special guest. She is a multi-talented, award-winning actress, comedian, producer, writer, filmmaker, speaker, and disability advocate. So please give a big, warm welcome to Dawn Grabowski.
Oh, well, thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dawn. Yeah, I'd like to hear, Dawn, about your story. The Dawn Grabowski story. How did you get started in entertainment, I guess, in acting, and where are you from? Tell me, let's get started on that.
Well, my parents took me to see my first Broadway show when I was 6 years old, because I'm originally from the tri-state area in Bayonne, New Jersey. So we used to live right across the George Washington Bridge. And on a good traffic day, you could get there in 15 or 20 minutes from New York City and Manhattan. So that's where I got to see my first Broadway show, which was Annie. And from there, I started taking acting classes. And after the acting classes, I decided I wanted to pursue it in college. And my acting got me to college, and that was my focus. And I grew up in Florida because my parents moved me out of the snow. So I went to high school and college in Florida, and grew up and spent most of my childhood in Florida. And after college graduation, I moved out to California and started pursuing my Hollywood acting dreams. And it's been an evolution going into comedy and motivational speaking and producing my own stuff from there.
Great. So you took acting classes, and what is there about acting now? Is that the thing? Is that your favorite in entertainment?
That's the thing that I'm most passionate about. Yes, it's true. But as you probably know in this business, if you want to have longevity, I consider it a marathon and not a sprint. So from there, I've evolved into creating my own content and my own projects and producing my own short films and my own feature film and voiceover. And I'm now, for the last almost 7 years, I've been doing sit-down comedy. I consider myself a sit-down comic because I'm not qualified to stand, hence the backdrop. I did 2 years ago, I was on stage for close to 2 hours, and my comedy show was called Open Heart, Flat-Chested Brass Balls. And it was 5.5, at that time, 2 years ago, it was 5.5 years of material.
Fantastic. Well, let's start with your acting first. You're very multi-talented, obviously. What is there about acting that you really love? I mean, your passion. What is there anything that really excites you about it?
Well, I think we are privileged as actors because we have the ability, if we use our talents correctly, to be able to bring entertainment to the world and not to sound too highfalutin, but peace and laughter. And if you're doing a drama piece, you can have people have the opportunity to get a good cry in. So we really, as artists, have an opportunity to entertain the world and use our art to try to make a difference in a positive way.
Fantastic. So, what type of acting now? Are you into more like comedy or drama or science fiction, or is there anything in particular that you really love, or do you love them all? Yeah.
Well, I really love all aspects of acting, but I will say that I think I have a second nature, for lack of better words, towards comedy, but I can also go to those dark, deep places if necessary for the drama. So comedy and drama equally, but people tend to say that I have a unique sense of humor and an interesting way of looking at the world. So that's what others have told me.
I see. What's a typical day then on the set when you do acting? How do you prepare yourself and be able to deal with your lines and everything and master everything? How do you morph into that, get into the character, what you're
Well,
doing?
it's really a lot of the preparation comes before you get to the set. You've got to know your lines. You've got to be prepared because if you're on a set, there is just so much happening. Prior to COVID and now with COVID, there's so many protocols in place and there's so many crew members and extra things that are going on because of COVID, that you really have to have those lines down cold and you have to really have them be part of your body, for lack of better words, because, you're going to have, you might have a smaller crew now because of COVID, but you're going to have crew light members and sound members and makeup and hair, and there's going to be a lot going on. So you really need to know your lines before you get to the set, and you really have to have a sense of what the character you're going to embody and what parts of your life you're going to bring to that character, and what skills as an actor, if you don't have those, if you can't pull on your personal life, for instance, if you're playing something like a drug addict or a murderer. I've never done drugs and I've never murdered anybody and never plan to. So it's like you got to know the sense memories to pull on so you can still come across in a appropriate way for the character, so you can do on the proper thing for the writer and the people that have created that part that they've hired you for.
So you must practice then quite a bit, I guess, to make sure improve your craft and to make sure everything is just right.
Oh, absolutely. I have an audition on Tuesday, and I was working with my acting coach right before I logged on with you. So,
Great.
it's you got to know those lines because, if you don't know those lines and you're looking into a Zoom lens or if you're lucky enough to be in person opposite somebody when it's safe, and if you're working COVID or pre-COVID, you've got to be able to connect with that person. You can't be searching for the word that you need.
That makes sense. That makes sense. You want to have a great rapport and know what you're doing. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, I know you had some different films now. I know you had a breakout role with Jerry Maguire now with Tom Cruise. It was at 1993. Tell me about it.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but it was 1996.
Oh, it was 96, correction.
Yeah,
Okay.
1996. Yes, that was my mainstream main breakout role, and it was my first feature film.
Fantastic. That's really some.
Yes.
That must have been some experience. Can you describe auditioning and doing the role and
Well,
working
it was
with Tom Cruise?
a very odd situation, in the sense that I did not audition for the part that I ultimately ended up getting. What happened was I was working on set as what they call a background person or an extra. And that means that you're in the background of the scenes. So I'm in the background of the SMI office, and I was on set, and they liked what I was doing, and they upgraded me on the spot. And the next thing I know, I have a scene with Tom Cruise.
Wow, that's really
So
something.
it was out of the ordinary in the sense that I didn't go to the casting director and I didn't audition face to face with the casting director that was casting the movie. It happened on set when the producers were there and the director were there. They're like, oh, we need some action here. What can we do? So they liked what I was doing and they gave me a upgrade. And the next thing I know, Tom Cruise is right here and I'm there and we're interacting with each other.
So you were promoted from within and from starting with an extra. That is
yes,
really
absolutely.
I congratulate you on that.
You got to take every opportunity. You never know where one's going to lead.
That's true. That's true. You never know. What did you do? What did you play now in that role?
I was the secretary.
Oh. Secretary, huh? Oh.
If you watch the movie, 20 minutes in, I'm in the SMI office. So right before he does his big speech about the inciting, which is considered the inciting incident of that particular film, where he says, "These fish have manners," and "Who's going with me?" That's where I have my interaction with him, and I had, some things got cut out, but you can clearly see my face if you look.
Great. That's neat. It really is something. Yeah. I noticed there's you had some other, you played Dr. Nicole Quest. You had a web series. Tell me about that.
Well, that is my own project, and it was originally a feature film, and then I revised it and recut it, and now it's a web series. And I play a stem cell researcher who gets stalked, but she loves classic television and old. She loves classic movies and classic television shows. So when she dreams at night, she dreams in a 40s grimoire that's modeled after the Maltese Falcon. So all her dream sequences are in black and white and modeled after classic old movies. And as she's going through the process of being stalked, because she plays a stem cell researcher, some of the things that are happening in her quote unquote daily life in the movie come into her dreams.
Wow. So I think isn't that something to do with you handling? You're able to handle reality better by fantasizing. You're able to deal with reality better. Is that right?
Well, with that particular character, yes, I definitely, as myself, I definitely know the difference between reality and television or movies. But as an individual, as a human being, television and movies has been very important to me. So I tend to have that fantasy aspect in most of the projects that I create, because if you, as you know, with somebody that has a radio show and has done other things, when you're doing your own project, you really got to love it, because it's, especially if you're on a shoestring budget, you've got to really have that passion inside of you, in my humble opinion, to go forth, because it's just too many hours on set and too many things to have to deal with unless you're loving what you're doing.
That makes sense. You don't want to be involved in something that you hate and that you're forcing yourself to do. If you want to put your mind, body, heart, and soul into whatever you're doing and give it your all, which
yes.
sounds like you're doing. It sounds like you're definitely doing that.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now there were some other films too. You were in. It was in SWAT, SWAT, and also ER. Now yes. I noticed when I was looking at your site, your website, and your some of your videos. There was a scene on ER, which was very interesting. You were an intern with. There was somebody else was an intern with you. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't interrupt you.
Oh, okay. And it looks like this person was giving you a real difficult time. They were really harassing you and giving you a hard time. And anyway, I think as I remember in there, you're saying about changing a diaper. You got to change your diaper. You have to change your diaper. And then he got really giving you a hard time, all the way harassing you and insulting you. And then I think he said to you, he looks at you like a Jerry Lewis telethon. And then what happened? You ended up sticking your tongue right back at him. That was funny. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, just to give you a little context on that, if you would like to hear,
Sure, I would.
the premise of that particular episode was I was a volunteer in the hospital, and the premise of the episode was they only had room for one volunteer.
Oh.
So we were fighting for the spot to be the volunteer, but the character was played by the late actor Jack Carter. And at the time I worked with him, I believe he was 89 years old.
Really?
He has since passed away. But the way it was originally written was it was written for a Don Rickles type of character. So that's what Jack Carter, that the actor, the late Jack Carter, that's his real name. He was playing this Don Rickles kind of character. And if you are familiar with Don Rickles comedy at all, he was like an insulting kind of comic. So that was the genesis or the the reasoning behind the episode. So he was picking on me because I was trying to steal he felt like I was stealing his spot in the hospital.
Yeah, he said this is my turf, as I remember. Yeah, in there.
Yes, absolutely.
He was looking at you as a threat that you were taking away his territory. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And at the end, you two became friends in a sense. You two ended up taking each other out at the very end.
Yeah, it was a very strange twist in the script, in the sense that, you know, we teamed up and started picking on one of the doctors, played by the lovely actor Scott Grimes, and it was just kind of strange that we would team up and start picking on somebody else.
Oh, right. There was something said about the doctor that was critical. I don't remember exactly the words that you used, but you got angry.
I think it was we were just, I don't know why they wrote it that way, but it was just, we ended up picking on him at the end, and he seemed his character seemed to be the butt of most of the problems or the jokes in that hospital. I don't know why. That's just the way it seemed to work.
I found it entertaining. I watched that over and over again. I found it very entertaining, Dawn.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so pleased that you enjoyed my work.
I do. I enjoy it. When I try to prepare, I try to get myself immersed in what I'm doing, totally in the subject. You know, I do research and try to come up with different questions and ideas, and I try to give it my all whenever I do. You know, try to be as prepared as I can be.
Well, as you know, the more prepared you are, in my humble opinion, the more you're able to relax and be in the moment with either the interview person, the person that's interviewing you, or if it's an acting situation in the scene, or if it's with my comedy. You know, if you're not thinking about your jokes, you're able to be more aware of the audience and know if the joke is landing, and you know, if it's not landing, if you pivot and pick new material, if you can realize that the audience is not gravitating towards a certain subject matter. So as with acting, you know, it's the same probably with yourself getting ready for the show tonight. You wanted to be as prepared as possible so you could enjoy the experience and you can have the conversation with myself.
Yes, well, I sensed that you were excited about it. I mean, we were going back and forth the night before, you know, writing to each other, and I felt you were excited. I felt it, and I am excited about every show. And I felt like you were going to be an excellent somebody excellent to talk to and interview. And I'm correct. You are. You really are.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting. Very entertaining. Yeah. Now you also did Now you've done a documentary about yourself that. I think it's called Love, Laughter, Persistence. There was one other adjective.
Passion.
Laughter,
love, persistence, passion. The Don Grabowski story.
Right. Tell me about. That's your. I see. That's your documentary. Yeah. Tell me all about how it came about. How did you film it? Where did you film? Different things involved in this documentary.
Well, that was actually a competition. There's a competition. I think it's the 9th year running or the 8th year running. I'm not sure. Forgive me. I'm not sure about how many years it's been running. But the Easter Seals, Easter Seals, a nonprofit, has partnered up. So it's called the Easter Seals Film Challenge. And under normal circumstances, it's a 2-day, 48-hour film challenge where you get the topic and you basically write the script, shoot it, and do your post-production within 48 hours. I did that last year. I did not participate this year. I just did not have an editor that was available. So I did not participate this year, but last year I participated. And because of the COVID and the sheltering at home, the rules were that you had to shoot in and around your apartment or your home and your property. So you had to stay safe. And the way it works with the Easter Seals Film Challenge is everyone that participates does it for free. So cast, crew, anyone involved works for free. And so the year that I participated last year, it was my first year participating, and they gave us the subject matter of documentary. So I was trying to figure out a way to tell my story that would be interesting. And it was basically myself and my editor and a couple friends along the way. I had my friend David came over and we shot some things outside of my apartment door because we were still on the premises, so that fit within the rules. And I had a couple friends help me over Zoom and ask me questions, and that's how you got the final version that you got. The rules are that the film can't be longer than 5 minutes, and the credits can't be longer than a minute. So that's why the film is 5 minutes and 40 seconds. But I wanted to try to tell my story about why I love laughing and comedy and why that makes me who I am.
Well, that's interesting. That is very interesting. Well, that's what I want to get into also. You obviously love comedy. Yes. And what is it about comedy that you love? And who are some of your favorite comics that you
Well, I love the fact that laughter. I mean, I think the world, just in general, even in a normal year, we need more laughter and we need more love and we need more compassion. So that's what draws me to the comedy. In terms of influences, anyone that knows me knows that you can't really talk about my story without talking about John Ritter, the actor from Three's Company. He was my childhood hero, and I was fortunate enough to meet him and spend a little time with him, and he became my mentor and ultimately my friend prior to his death. And so anyone that knows me knows that he's a big part of my story. He got me through. Before I met him, I feel like his show got me through a lot of tough times as a child, because I tell people I could sit down and watch Three's Company, which was the show that he became most famous for when he was first starting out, his like breakout role. And I could sit down and watch that half hour and watch him do a pratfall, and I didn't have to be worried about being picked on at school. I could just like focus and really enjoy and really immerse myself. And that's kind of how my love for comedy and my love for television started. And in terms of other influences, in terms of stand-ups, obviously Robin Williams was a big influence, because I never had the chance to meet him in person or know him in person. But I mean, he was just so gifted in that regard. So, there's so many people that have influenced me and my work. And I've been very fortunate that I've worked with some really amazing, amazing people.
So these are the people that inspired you, it sounds like. Robin Williams, John Ritter.
Yeah.
What is there about them that inspires? It's just their comedy? It's just their aura, their personality? What is it about them that...
Well, I think it's one of the things that I love about acting so much. It's like you can be transported and you can sit down and you can enjoy that comedy, or you can have a good cry and enjoy that drama, and you can escape, safely into that world and forget about your problems for a little while and just enjoy the entertainment in that you have in front of you. I think it's really amazing, and I just consider it a privilege to be an actress and to work in the entertainment industry, because I get to do something that I love to do. And there are people in this world that have jobs that they don't love, and they do them because they got to pay the bills. But I mean, I'm in a situation where I can create my own projects and create my own buzz, and that's really exciting and wonderful.
So you're independent then. You don't need anybody. You can. It sounds like you can be a filmmaker. You can produce and write and direct and do a little bit of everything. You're very extremely versatile and talented.
Well, I think in this modern world, in this day and age, I think you really have to be able to diversify and able to do other things, because um, the more skills you have, the more you can bring to the table if somebody were to hire you, whether it's indie film or whether it's voiceover work or comedy. The more skills and the more tools and the more training you have in your bag, the more opportunities that will come your way. I have often joked that I'm the Madonna of my time without the sex book. I don't have the sex book. We'll never have the sex book. But I mean, it all kind of starts from an evolution. I started acting, and years and years and years ago, when I first came to town, I took a class at UCLA Extension on how to create your own one-person play, because I was one of these people that I just didn't want to have to wait for the phone to ring. I wanted to be as proactive as possible to follow my dreams and do what I wanted to do. So from there, I learned how to write, my own story. And from there, and then you work on it for years and years, and you're able to put it up and get it going. And that's how you learn how to write. And from there, you take another class online about screenwriting and you learn that medium. So that's how things kind of evolved. I started because I didn't want to have to wait for the phone to ring, and I wanted to try to give myself the best option to try to get noticed and try to get out in this industry, because as you know, the industry is very competitive, and there's
That's true. Really want it, you have to feel it. You have to give it your all, and picture yourself doing it. Of course.
absolutely visualize it and think positively and be prepared. So when that opportunity comes through, whether you're rolling in the door or whether you're walking in on crutches, or however you have to get in that mode of transportation to get there, you have to make sure that you're ready to go.
That's great. That's really great. Yeah, I agree. You see yourself doing it, take action. Don't listen to people say it can't be done.
Yeah. Well, seriously, not only as a person, a performer with a disability, but also as a woman, as you get older, and I know we're not supposed to talk about age in Hollywood, but as you get older, typically, you may not have as many opportunities. So the more diversified you can be and the more you can wear different hats, the better off you're going to be, like I said, to be that valuable person. Once you're, the more valuable you are, the more don't give them a chance not to hire you. Learn the skills you need to make the situation the best it can be for you.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. Because the more you have to offer, the better chance you have of getting the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's competitive. It is very competitive. Oh yeah, very difficult. How do you deal with rejection now, as an actor or anything, whether it be acting, writing, producing, filming, whether anything involving entertainment? How do you handle it?
Well, I think I've gotten better with it over the years. I used to take it very personal when I first started out, but I think when you're younger and you first come to town, you just, you want to take the world by storm, and I still want to take the world by storm, but I have more of a perspective now. I think what I've realized is, this is a business. It's called show business. It's not called show friends, although I have many friends in the business. But the reality is like, I am a product. And some days that you may not want to buy me. You know, some days, if you consider me as a product, you know, some days you may want a redhead. And even though I'm willing to dye my hair, I still may not fit the mold. I often say, you know, if I'm considered non-dairy chocolate ice cream treat, you know, you may want strawberry ice cream that day. You know, it's just you know, we're different people and we're products, and so you're not going to get every job that you want. And you just you know, what I've learned over the years, I think for myself, is to learn that you know, the world's going to go on whether I get the job or not. So I do the very best I can do, and I have be as prepared as possible. And I go in and then do the very best audition I can do, and I lay it all out on that room and leave all my talent in that room auditioning or over the Zoom, however it's working these days. And then when you leave the office, or when you shut off the computer, if it's on Zoom, you realize, okay, go about your day. And then, you know, if you get a phone call in a couple days and say, hey, they want you for this show or this product, great. But if not, you know, we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, of course. So you give it your all. That's all. See yourself doing it, take action, and then hopefully you get it. If not, yeah, it's not the end of the world. There's always something else.
Yeah.
Always another project.
But I think over time I've realized that, you know, like I said, it's, you know, the more you audition and the more you get out there, you realize, you know, not to put all your eggs in that one basket. It was very difficult when I was first starting out, before the industry was not as diversified as it is now. It would be very different if I got one audition a year, as opposed to, you know, the more experience I have, and the fact that the industry has opened up a little bit more to diversity. So it's like, it's a lot different when you have that one audition a year. You know, you put everything into it, and then that's usually when you get kind of stressed out. So, you know, you have to think, okay, you know, tomorrow the sun's going to rise tomorrow, and if all goes well, I'm going to get up tomorrow, and we'll start over again. And, you know,
how do you deal with anxiety? How do you deal with anxiety? I mean, do you feel always confident, or is there certain times when you feel nervous, you know, in your lines or whatever you're doing? And how do you overcome and deal with that? How do you handle that?
Well, for myself, it's about preparation and making sure that I've researched the role as much as I can, and known my script as best as I could, know it backwards and forwards, and know what emotions and what parts of my life I need to pull into the character. But also for myself, I have little tricks that I do to, you know, keep myself calm. And, you know, I get up extra early if I have an audition, or, you know, plan it out so I have lots of time to get ready, so I'm not stressed out about, oh my gosh, I'm running late, you know, those kind of things. And, you know, I listen to meditation, I listen to music I like. I call, you know, my East Coast friends, and we chat about what's going on with their lives, and sometimes they give me a pep talk, or I call my mom if it's at a decent hour. Or, you know, you just have to, for myself, I think you really have to have a really great support system. And my support system is primarily back east, because my family and my high school and college friends are back east. But, you know, we text, we call, we email, and, you know, they send me well wishes. And we, you know, that's what, you know, I think when you have that support system, it makes it a lot easier. So if it goes great, they're there for you and they're excited for you. And if it doesn't go so great, you have that family that can prop you up, or those friends that can support you a little bit.
That's great. That's spectacular. That means it's a win-win situation. Then you're up. When you're doing good, they're applauding, and when you're down, they're there to pump you up. So that's wonderful. It's very supportive, very positive. Yeah. Now you also you produced a one-woman show. I think you did play. It was a play. Tell me about that. All about that.
Well, that was the first project that I was talking about all those years ago at UCLA Extension. It was called Always Going Up. Right. And the premise of it was that I'm reflecting on my life as I'm sitting at an awards banquet. I was nominated several years ago for a award that was named after Christopher Reeve. It was the Christopher Reeve Acting Scholarship. And I was nominated the previous year, and the next year I ended up winning the award. So what I did was I used the premise of, as I'm sitting there waiting for my category, because it was the last category of the evening, my mind kind of drifts back and I start thinking about my friends and my family and Three's Company and what I love about the industry, and that's how the play is constructed. So because I have done the play, I used to perform the play for a nonprofit, and I revised it and adapted it to go into elementary schools with it several years ago. So now it's very streamlined and very, very compact in terms of props and such, because it's set up in such a way that, like, one chair is the past on stage, one chair is talking directly to the audience in the present, and one chair is the past, let's see, the past, the talking to the audience and reflecting back on my life as a childhood. So the chairs represent different areas of my life, and that's how the play is constructed. And then I just go back about how I got into the industry and why I wanted to do the industry. And it's called Always Going Up because as a person that walks with crutches, it seems like a lot of the casting offices are on the second floor and there's usually no elevators. So that's why it's called Always Going Up, because I feel like I'm always climbing stairs and crawling upstairs and climbing stairs and trying to get myself upstairs with my crutches. And there was a joke in the play that you know, as I pass somebody on the stairs, when I get to the top of the office to drop off my headshot and resume, the casting receptionist will usually say, "Oh, you just missed him. You probably passed him on the stairs. He just left." You know, it's one of those kind of funny things, but it also really happens on multiple occasions.
Wow, you have a great sense of humor, that you do. Now, you're about overcoming adversity. That sounds like that's what you do, and you're excellent at that. Now on comedy, let me ask you on the comedy now. Have you ever dealt with any hecklers or you know at all when you do your comedy?
Oh, of course. As a sit-down comic, when we were able to be in the clubs, when it was safer, you know, sometimes you'll get a heckler that will call out to the stage. But you know what most people don't realize is a lot of hecklers just really want to participate. I think a lot of hecklers just want to be involved in the show. And I don't think they come after you in the sense that, you know, they're really trying to mess your setup. You just have to realize that most of them really want to participate, and most of them are just like wanting to share their opinion. And you have to, at least the way I was taught and what I believe, sit down comedy, because I don't consider myself a stand-up, I consider myself a sit down. It's a dialogue between myself and the audience. So if you can think of it as a conversation, and like I said, most of the time the hecklers are harmless. You just have to realize whatever they're shouting from the stage and handle it appropriate with your comeback. You know, don't go for the juggler on somebody figuratively if they're just saying, you know, if they're just, you know, making one comment. You know, there are people now, if they're drunk and you have to get security, you know, they might participate more, but most of the time people just want to like really be involved in the show, and they just are really trying to express themselves. And unless you're doing controversial material, in which case, you know, I always feel like as a sit down comic and as an artist and a performer, whatever I create, I have the right to create. But I always tell people when they ask me, if they ever ask me for advice, I say, you're welcome to make jokes about anything you want, but just realize that if it's a controversial subject, that, if somebody comes after you, you have to be willing to, stand up, even if you can't stand behind your material. So.
Right. So, if you're sitting down, right, you're sitting down, so, but you're still standing up for yourself mentally and emotionally. You're not letting somebody get the best of you. Of course not. And you write your own material. Is it based upon your experiences in life? That's what I'm thinking, on your comedy.
Yes. I talk about just the odd things that happen as a person with a disability and a mobility challenge. As somebody who is defined by societal standards as somebody with a physical, visible disability, you have to, I just look at the world differently because, the way I enter a room and the way you enter a room may be different. And that's what makes our perspectives different. So that's where the humor can come in.
Right. Well, I did see some of your comp, and it was entertaining. It looks like to me it's like you're acting like as if you don't have, of course, as if you don't have a disability, and you're just playing off of it and having fun with it and having fun with the audience, which is excellent because you love what you're doing and you're entertaining, and that's it. You're not going to be able. It's impossible to please everybody, but you do your best and hope for the best. That's all. But yeah.
Well, that goes back to what you were saying before. Society terms me as a person with a disability and labels me as such. I don't see myself that way. I see myself as a human being that moves differently and has different experiences. But when you think about it, we all have different experiences.
That's true.
That
is true. That is true. We all do. And my feeling is to repeat, regardless of anybody, whether they have any kind of human being, with a regular or disability person, treat other people the way you want to be treated. I don't believe in offending or insulting people. I just believe treating people with respect, because that's the very thing you would want someone to treat you that way.
Absolutely. Like I said before, I think the world needs a lot more love, laughter, and compassion and respect right along that. Where, the world would be a nicer place if we all were more mindful of those things, in my humble opinion.
I agree with you. I was gonna say what the world needs now more than ever is love, sweet love, and also peace.
Yes, absolutely. And
Right,
laughter.
Right. There was a song, and I used to watch the Jerry Lewis Telethon. They used to always have that song that was always what the world needs now is love. And it's true, even more than ever. Yeah. What did you think about that, the Jerry Lewis Telethon in the past? I mean, that was quite a fundraising show for people that were disabled, headed by Jerry Lewis.
Well, that was for people with MS, I believe. So yes, back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, telethons were the big thing. We don't really do telethons anymore.
Right, muscular dystrophy. That's right.
Yes.
Right. Oh yeah. I wanted to do entertainment on that. I went down there in person, but they wanted me to take the calls, the pledges, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do the entertainment, so I wasn't able to do it. Probably you need the right contacts with Jerry Lewis in order to actually do the entertainment.
Well, I think where it comes to stuff like that, since you're volunteering your time and they want people to call in, they go with the more notable names.
Right.
So people like myself may get, I'm a person with cerebral palsy, and, back when they were doing the cerebral palsy telethon, when John was still alive and they were doing it when I was younger, I was a child back then, so I wasn't into the comedy as such, but, the lesser known people were the ones that were usually on at 2 and 3 in the morning because most everybody else was sleeping.
Right. It's about ratings is what it is. They put on
Yes.
the top people that will get the ratings and get the attention up. That's exactly it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That really makes sense. They had quite a few array of entertainers too, and they did that for many years, of course. Have you ever died on your for your stand-up, well, sit down comedy? Have you ever died on stage? Have you ever had any where everything just either you forgot some lines or you forgot something, or something just didn't work out when you were trying to do your sit-down comedy?
No, I don't really think so. I mean, I'm not trying to be arrogant or say that in a bad way, but I always prepared my routines, and there
I
were
see.
some jokes that, got more laughs than others. But overall, my work has always, because I know how to write a joke and because I know how to construct a joke, and I've been trained by some of the best people in the business, in my humble opinion, I usually know if a joke's going to work. And then the way you handle it, and the way you, at least for myself, that you interpret it, you just got to be very mindful of what kind of audience you have. If you're whether it's over Zoom like we're doing now, or whether it's in person, if we're able to be in person, if you're telling a joke about, medical stuff and it's not working, and you got a bunch of teenagers in the audience, you just got to be able to pivot, and then you go with your jokes that are about Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and you just got to know who's in your audience to know like what jokes might work
Right, so it kind of
better.
reminds me of, yeah, when I was I did my last time on television when I did Jimmy Kimmel. If I forgot something, I just acted like it didn't even happen and went right on. That's what you usually do in entertainment. You act like it didn't even happen, decentuate it, and just go on, and that way
Well,
it's not as magnified, right?
yeah, as just to follow up on that, as you know, when you're doing a set, like nobody knows your jokes except for you. Nobody knows what the scene is except for the director and the actors that you're with. So a lot of times, unless you say something like, "Oh my gosh, I messed up," or, "Can we do that again?" or acknowledge it yourself, most of the time people don't even realize that you've made a mistake other than yourself.
That's true. That's true. You just don't make a big thing about it. You act like it didn't happen and go right on.
You just go
Exactly.
right on,
You
because
show
like,
what you show
as you
what you
know,
know.
not every joke's gonna hit. Not every interview question's gonna be top of the line, with all due respect. Some are gonna be more evolutionary and have more to talk about, so you just got to be aware and mindful.
You're right. Some are hits and big, and really laughter, and some are misses. Some just don't make it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, of course. It's like different strokes, different folks.
But if you have the opportunity to do a set on television or something, you bring your A-list material that you've practiced a million times, and you pretty much know that every single joke is going to hit because you're on national television. But then
Course.
again, if you're on national television, then you can't use that set anymore.
That's true. That makes sense. Well, you have such a great, beautiful smile. You have such a great positive aura about you. You truly love what you're doing. That's evident. You're very interesting there, Don.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I feel very blessed. Like I said, there are a lot of people that have jobs that they don't like, and have aspects of their life that they don't like. And I feel very blessed. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. It's taken a long time to get there. And I love to be creative, and I love to have the opportunity to work with fantastic people. And I just think it's a gift every day.
Well, you know what? It sounds like you have made a difference. How do you feel that you've made a difference in entertainment community for people who have disabilities? How do you feel that you've overcome any obstacles that you've encountered, as having been disabled? You don't see yourself that way, but overcome it and then make a difference in the community for people in entertainment who have disabilities. How do you feel that you've been able to do that?
Well, I think, like, going back to what we were saying before, is be prepared, because for a long time in the industry, and I know other guests you've had have talked about this, they were saying, "Oh, there's not trained, talented actors with disabilities." Yeah, there's a lot of us. And if you actually look, you can cast authentically, and, we are people, and but you believe it or not, we really are people. And, prior to COVID, we go to stores, and we go to restaurants and coffee shops and the post office, and, we're living our lives and doing our things. So, it doesn't always have to be a role with a disability. It can be, I'm going out to dinner with a girlfriend, or, I have a date with a nice guy, or, I need to go to the post office because I need stamps. We're people that live our lives. So, it's time that the industry show us in film and television and web series and commercials and music videos. We're people that are living our lives. The only difference is, some of us move differently and some of us have different packaging, and it's a little considered more unique by societal standards. But we're just, we want love, we want laughter, we want to have successful lives and be financially successful. So that's what it's all about. So I think in terms of what you were asking, in terms of a role model or something like that, I do the very best that I can do. And if anyone asks me that's getting into the business, I always say, be trained, be ready. You want to take every opportunity that you can get, because you never know where it's going to lead. But now I'm very excited because SWAT, which was one of the roles that you mentioned earlier, that was the first time I was ever hired, and it had nothing to do with my disability. So that was a really groundbreaking thing. And that
really?
was in 2017. And
No.
I was just hired. It just aired about 2.5 weeks ago. And I can say this now because it's aired, because I had to be quiet before, but I can say this now. I was hired to tell the truth. And that had nothing to do with my disability. They were just open to diversity. They liked my personality, and I fit into the scenario that they were creating. So it's starting to get a little bit better, because like I said, we are, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm hopefully a good friend. I like to go out to dinner. I like to be with friends. So, I'm a person living my life. So hopefully the industry will start to recognize that more and cast that way. And it won't always have to say girl in wheelchair or girl on crutches or woman in wheelchair or woman on crutches. You'll give me a name and you'll make me a 3-dimensional character with a full, rich life on screen, whether it be the small screen or the big screen, as it is in my real life that I'm pursuing interest in time and such.
That's great. You're a trailblazer, is what you are. You're a leader in what you're doing in your movement. You're not letting anything get in your way, and you're seeing yourself doing all these things. Whether it be producing films, sit down comic, whatever you're doing, voiceovers, or making documentaries, or doing web series, whatever. You put your mind to it, and that's it. And you just do it. You don't let anything get in your way. You don't let any negative influence you.
Well, the beautiful thing about creating your own content and being a hyphenate and wearing multiple hats is then you have the ability to talk about the things that are important to you and the things that you find funny. And if you happen to get it out there in a world that's modern with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and now TikTok and some of these other platforms, you do have the opportunity to give yourself a better chance to be proactive with your career. But that's the beauty of being able to write. And, if I don't see the character I want on the television and I'm not having the opportunity to audition for that kind of character, that's when you got to sit your butt down in the chair and say, okay, in a perfect world, what kind of character would I like? What kind of web series would I want to create? And that's how I get the ideas. And then sometimes I ask my friends and say, hey, what would you like to see? Now, granted, I'm an independent person and I do everything pretty much myself, or I have to get a backer. So I'm not Warner Brothers. I don't have the budget for Warner Brothers or Paramount or one of the other studios. But, just asking your friends, what kind of content would you like to see that you're not seeing? And sometimes just by talking to your friends and your colleagues, it sparks my creative juices and my creative wheels turning.
Well, I see. So you, based upon talking to friends or anybody, colleagues, you get spin off and get ideas, and then you get motivated and excited, and then you can become creative. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's great. You network with people, you talk to people, you think about it. and then you get excited, and then maybe one idea leads to others, and before you know it, you're doing it. That's what I was going to ask you as far as your writing, your script, and your speaking and everything. It sounds like you combine when you do your motivational speaking. It sounds like from what I read, you combine your comedy with your the motivational, inspirational speaking. Is that correct?
That's true. I mean, think about it. If somebody comes in and gives a speech and they just do a PowerPoint presentation and it's all about facts, you may learn something, but you'll probably sit there and be bored.
Right.
But if I can tell you a joke and say, guess what happened to me today when I went to the post office or whatever, and I go through a story and tell you a funny anecdote, that's going to make you remember me not only as a speaker, but it's also going to make you remember the content more.
Right.
I tell people that, if you look at the backdrop, yes, I have a disability, but if my disability is I'm flat chested in Hollywood. That's the disability. It's being in a wheelchair or being on crutches is nothing. Try being flat chested in Hollywood and over the age of 30. That's the real disability. Trust me, it's a real disability.
That's funny. And you're also, I think, when I'm watching your comedy, you're telling that other people have the disability, not you. Other people have disabilities, but it's not you. They're trying to act like you have it when they have it. I know what you reverse it, and you just act like you don't have it, even though you do. But in your mind, you don't have it, even though you do. But you have fun with it is what you do.
I think the joke that you're referring to is I say that I love to be around people that have been drinking, because when I'm around people that have been drinking, it makes them look like they're disabled. I think that was one of the jokes that you might have been referring to.
That's the one. That's exactly it. Yeah, you're right.
Because after a few drinks, you all start walking like me.
Right. What is your secret? Let me ask you something. With all that your secret is, I guess this must be something you were born with, because you act like you don't have these problems, even though you have them. But you make the best of what you do have. But your personality, your smile and your warmth, and I'm not just saying it, but it's just how I perceive you. It comes across so positive, so enthusiastic, so bubbly. It's like rah, rah, rah. That's just, and I love it. This is really great.
Thank you.
No, this is really neat. It really is nifty and neat. I like to talk to people like yourself. To me, you are very inspiring. You turn your scars into stars is what you do. You don't let nothing affect you at all, and act like nothing happens.
As far as we know, and we can have a philosophical debate that could go on for hours, but as far as we know, we only have one life. Like I said, we could talk about that for hours, about whether there's an afterlife or what you believe in terms of the spiritual aspect of things. But as far as I know, right now, we only have one life. And, I got to play the hand that I was dealt, and I got to do the very best that I can do, because, when all is said and done, I know for a fact that we're all going to die. Right. I mean, that's the reality of it. And when my time comes, and if, I don't want to be thinking, oh man, I wish I would have,
Could have, you're right.
Yeah, right. That's kind of how I got to California. It was like after college, I was not involved with anybody. I wasn't dating any gentlemen or anything like that. And I was like, well, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I really want to pursue this. Now is the time to do it before you end up meeting somebody and, potentially having a family. That makes more elements more difficult.
That's true. There's such a thing as timing. You're right. You don't want to get older and say, I wanted to be and do all those things and I never did it. When you're able to, when you're young and when you're healthy and when you're happy and when you're able to, you put your mind to it and you just do it. So you have no regrets. When it's over, sure, you don't get an encore. We know it's over. It's final. So you give it all your best and you have a completely happy, full life, and there are no regrets. So when you leave, you did it your way. You're happy. You're fulfilled. Yeah. You did everything you wanted to do in your life. I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
You may look back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have gotten that part, or I wish, this would have played out differently in my life or my world or my creative aspect or whatever. But at least I can say, no matter what happens, I wrote the screenplay. I made the movie. I did the web series. I may not have as many YouTube subscribers as another person, but at least I can say I put the effort forth and I did everything I knew at the time to put my intention behind it and my focus behind it to be as successful as possible.
Well, that's great. Well, of course, I mean, we know it can be lucrative, I mean, entertainment, but I don't think it's just, of course, it's about making money. You got to make money to pay the bills and to get the things that you want in your life. But it's doing something that you truly love with your passion and not forcing yourself to do something that you don't like. I mean, sometimes you got to do things you don't like to get what you want, of course.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've had lots of day jobs that, didn't really light my fire, but I needed them at the time because I had to pay bills and I had to, pay for therapy treatments and such. And sometimes you got to do stuff that you don't like. Not every day is going to be a day at Disney World, for lack of better words. You know what I mean?
Sports. No, I do. I understand. I agree with you. And every day is different. Some days you feel like you conquer the world. Other days maybe you're not feeling so good or whatever. But you do your best and hope for the best and try to plan for success. That's for sure. There you go. If you had to do it over again, then would you have done anything differently in in your life, in your career, and what you're doing?
That's a really tough question because some of the things that have been less successful for me, shall we say, because I don't like to use the word failure. Some of the things that have been less successful have made me grow and learn as an artist and as a person. So that's very difficult to say. But, obviously looking back 2020, I mean, hindsight, I didn't know the business would be as difficult as it was. I mean, clearly I read every book and about Hollywood and tried to be as prepared as possible, but it was nothing like I really thought it was going to be based on what the research I had done before I got here. And I'm not kidding you. I read just about every book there was about Hollywood before I made the decision to come out here, because I came out here on vacation to visit a friend that I went to college with, and she was going to law school, and I came out here for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turned into a month later getting my own apartment and decades later living out here. So, I think in some ways when you don't know any better, even though it may not have gone as successfully as you wanted to, you still learn and grow even from the experiences. When I look back on my film, it's like, oh, I wish I would have known that we were going to have a problem with that, piece of equipment, or that, or maybe I should have casted that role a little bit differently. But, you don't know that at the time. But obviously, if I had a crystal ball and knew that at the time, I'd be like, well, if I go with a different piece of equipment, I'll save $3,000. Or if I cast it differently, this situation would happen or would not have happened. So that's a hard question to ask, because sometimes ignorance is bliss. If I knew how hard it was going to be, I may have chickened out.
I see. You might have got cold feet. Okay.
Yeah.
You're glad that you didn't. It sounds like you have no. It sounds like you have no regrets. You also there was another movie you did, was Almost Famous. That was another one that you did.
Wait, yet another secretary. Cameron Crowe likes to cast me as secretary.
Really? Oh, you're the secretary. That you are.
Which is kind of funny because in real life I use voice recognition and I only type 10 words a minute. So it's kind of funny that I always get cast as a secretary, and I use specialized equipment on my own projects. Yes, but that was a wonderful experience as well.
Great. That's fantastic. That's really beautiful.
I played, let's see, Ben Fontores's secretary, who at the time was.
Excuse me, I didn't hear that. What was that?
I believe the gentleman's name was Ben Fontores, and at the time he was, because Almost Famous, I'm not sure if you're aware, it's semi-autobiographical, so it's based on part of Cameron Crowe's real life about how he became a writer and how he became interested in music and such. And I was cast as, I believe the gentleman's name, if I'm remembering correctly, it was Ben Fontores, and he was the editor of Rolling Stone, who hired Cameron Crowe to write an article when he was, I believe, still in high school. I think he was like 16 years old. And I actually met the real life gentleman. I was on set behind my desk, my secretarial desk, and the gentleman walked in and he said, "Can you please tell me where Ben Fontours' office would be?" And I said, "Well, I'm casted as his secretary, so I believe it's across the way of the set here." And he's like, "Well, let me rephrase. I'm Ben Fontours." So I believe, I mean, I could have the name wrong because it's been several years, but I believe that was the gentleman's name. But I met the real gentleman at the time that we were filming.
Wow, that's really, what an experience. Whatever. Here you're not a secretary, but you're putting on such a great act, and people they would not know. They would think that you really are the secretary.
Yeah.
There you go. Like an old saying, pretend you're happy even though you aren't.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, really, who's going to listen if you complain? Who's really going to listen?
That's true.
We all have problems.
No one will listen. That's what an ex-boss of mine told me. He says, no one will listen if I have a complaint. No, they really not. Laugh when the world laughs at you, and you cry alone. That's correct.
Absolutely.
And there's no business like show business.
Exactly. And that's what it is. It's show business. Like I said before, it's not show friends.
That's true. That's true. My favorite performer used to say, TCB, taking care of business. Elvis Presley. Guy that I wanted so bad to meet, but it wasn't meant to be. The concerts were sold out. But I had the honor and privilege of working with a producer who knew Elvis well. He wrote the '68 comeback at NBC.
Oh, that's fantastic.
When he wrote the comedy, him and his partner Alan Bly. His name was Chris Beard. I don't know if you ever heard of him. But Elvis was surrounded by his cronies when he first started. You know, people like DJ Fontana on drums and Scotty Moore the lead guitar, and he was talking in a circle. And you know, there was a video called "One Night with You." That's what he was singing, and he did all kinds of his black leather jacket, and he looked stunning. The women went wild; they were excited and everything. And you know, you name it, it was a whole show that he did. So having worked with a guy like that was something. It's unfortunate I never got a chance to thank him, because unfortunately the week after the host of the show, Chuck Barris, passed. Chris Beard, you know, he passed the week after.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But it probably really impacted your life and your career. So you're paying it forward with everything that you're doing now.
It was very exciting. If you want to see some of these shows, go to my website, go to johnnyblaze.com. I was on about 10 times. I had a couple of television specials on there. The Johnny Blaze Day, whole show dedicated to me, see it, where I went out in the audience, kissed the woman, shaking the guy's hands, and, you know, took over the show. And it was exciting being put up on the shoulders like the winning touchdown. You were UC Irvine students. And then feeling like Elvis, really feeling like, I mean, when you get this Johnny, 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 and then you get hugging, kissing, screaming, lips in the face, cheering and applauding. As Elvis had his Hawaii special, about 4 years before he died, my Hawaii special was like that. It was like Elvis and the Beatles. It was one of a kind. In other words, a one-time thing that was singing Blue Suede Shoes. You can see that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You can see that on johnnyblaze.com. Amongst my other shows, if you've ever seen.
Well, I checked out your website. I've watched some of your episodes and some of your other things.
Jimmy Kimmel's show, the Future Star Talent Showcase, and some of the other things that were in there. You know, Shriners Hospital and karaoke and all kinds of different things. Oh yeah, this is, and I'm really loving doing this series here. I'm really enjoying it.
Do you ever go to Elvis impersonator competitions?
I've seen Elvis impersonators, yes, in person, but I myself, I've gone to the I've seen some of them. A guy by the name of Sean Clush, he's one of the top Elvis tribute artists. I saw him at in North Hollywood. There's a place over there on Lancashire. I'm trying to think of the name of the place.
Is that Dimples?
No, that's not Dimples. That's a favorite place. That wasn't Dimples. This was it's some kind of place on Lancashire in North Hollywood. It's like a theater. I can't remember the name of the theater now. No, Dimples. Well, you saw the Dimples. I could go there, and I did many karaoke over there performances. In fact, that's where I met Jimmy Kimmel before he put me on the show. He said, "I'll promote you on the radio." He was Jimmy the Sports Guy on the Kevin and Bean Show. And I called him and I couldn't get him. And I said, "Oh, he's forgotten about me." All of a sudden I got a call, "We'd like your video." So, "What video?" "I didn't send you a video." we share Steve Harvey's office. I was sending a video to Steve Harvey
Oh,
or
okay.
something. And so the minute I arrived in Hollywood and I saw Jimmy, he said to me, I know you. And it was over. He said, it's a pleasure meeting a star of the future. That was fun. That was karaoke. And that's in the, it was a Christmas special doing Jingle Bell Rock. You can see that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the video yet. And some of the Dimples performances, I don't know. But anyway, all fun, all exciting. It's a good feeling. Yeah, that it is. So let me see that now. How can people basically? Oh, want to ask you about. You love movies. What kind of movies do you like, and what kind of? Do you work with any top celebrity besides Tom Cruise? You probably work with some other top celebrities. Tell me about the celebrities that you work with and the films that you like.
Um, well, I earned my, before I was on ER, prior to that, that's how I got my SAG card several years earlier. So I worked with the original cast of ER. So that was pretty exciting, working with George Clooney and Eric LaSalle and such. And SWAT was in 2017. So I worked with Shamar Moore, who's also the executive producer of that particular show. So I've been really blessed. I've worked with some amazing, amazing people.
That's wonderful. That really is. Those are experiences you'll never forget.
Absolutely not. I mean, how many people can say, they met their childhood idol, or they got to work with George Clooney, or they got to meet Anthony Anderson, or work with Anthony Anderson, or something like that. That's something that I can say that not everyone can say. Or, I met James Corden for your consideration Emmy events, or and I met Stephen Colbert. Those are
Great.
experiences that not everyone can say they did.
That's great. Those are great talk show hosts. James Corden. Oh yeah, he does the Late Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Oh yeah, they're talk show.
Stephen Colbert, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. You never met Jimmy, I guess. Jimmy Kimmel, right?
No, I've actually met Jimmy. I've never worked with him, but I've met him several times. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy. And I remember I was on the show. I remember the people that were on that particular show was Ben Stein, and I saw Ben. I said, Bueller, anyone, because he did remember
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, absolutely.
What a movie that was! A guy that played hooky got away with it all. That was quite a movie. Yeah, he played.
That's very eventful, and that's such a classic now.
What a movie! What a funny movie that was. Yeah, and who else was that? Was that other guy that was in it? I'm trying to think now. The husband of Sarah Jessica Parker. That's the actor. I'm just.
Matthew Broderick.
That's it, Matthew Broderick. I was just trying to say. Yeah, that's it. What a movie that was. And then Rachel Lee Cook, who was an actress, she was in it. And also Zach Galifianakis, who's a comedian, he was also there that night.
Yeah, it's funny when when the sheltering at home first started, Paramount was showing a movie for a while there. They were showing movies, like a Sunday night movie, and it was, to see Clueless and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and see movies from several years ago, and see how big those stars are now. It's kind of fun to see.
So any favorite type of films that you like in particular?
I'm a big George Clooney fan, and everything that he does, usually if he does it himself, it's something meaningful and powerful, but he also has the fun stuff like the remake of Ocean's 11, because they originally had an Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra, and then he remade it with Brad Pitt and all those guys. So that was, and then there was Out of Sight. I really enjoyed that movie. I believe that was with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. That was like a criminal heist kind of film. Mm. And I like stories that have really great characters, and I like suspense, but I don't like to be scared, but I like things that are suspenseful. Like I like Alfred Hitchcock, but not The Birds and not Psycho. You know what I'm saying? I like things that make you think and really get you involved, and of course a good romantic comedy every now and then. There's so many good movies out there and so much good content now. We're so lucky with this, with the streaming services and and the technology that we have now, there's so many I mean, you can't keep up with all the content that's
Remember
being
older
created.
movies, but Love Story and Love Story. Love means never having to say you're sorry. Remember that
Oh
one?
yeah, Ali McGraw and
Ryan
Ryan
O'Neal.
O'Neal.
You're right. And then there was, of course, there was Romeo and Juliet. That was beautiful too in the past. And remember Gone with the Wind. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Remember that?
Yeah,
Carl Gable, right?
Vivian Lee, right?
Vivian Lee, exactly. Oh yeah, I had a class in college in Cal State University in Northridge. I took a class called TV Film Aesthetics. It was really interesting. They had all kinds of movies of the past, French movies, Italian movies, you name it. They had it, and we had to write a term paper on that. The first talk it was a movie called I'm trying to remember. They didn't have words to it. I'm trying to think of the name of that movie. Birth of a Nation. That's what it was called. You remember?
Oh yeah, that's like from the 30s, I think,
Yeah,
like
D.W. Griffith.
1933 or something. D.W. Griffith.
Right, Birth of a Nation, exactly. Now, all right, we had to write a term paper, so I picked a top filmmaker director. He's really, his name was Frank Capra. Frank Capra.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
Right, it's a wonderful, oh, what a movie that's a favorite of mine. I don't know about you, but that's a favorite of mine. No one is a failure who has his friends, and an angel won his wings. What a movie. You can see that
And
over
when it
and over.
first came out, nobody knew. And when it first came out, it was not successful.
That's true. And then eventually it became successful
Yes,
over the
absolutely.
years. Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed. Oh yeah, what a movie. Oh yeah, and Lionel Barrymore played the mean, Mr. Potter. Oh yeah,
Yep.
it's all in the family with the Barrymores, of course.
Yep,
Of course.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, Donna Reed. Oh yeah, they're phenomenal.
Donna Reed, before she ended up on Dallas, she became famous towards the end of her life because she ended up on Dallas. But a lot of younger folks didn't know that she was in It's a Wonderful Life.
What a movie that was. Oh yeah, he really played. Jimmy Stewart played quite a role in that. Yeah, it was really some. Of course, in Donna Reed, as you remember, in the Donna Reed show, there was to play the daughter. Trying to think of her name now. She did the song Shelley Fabre. That's what I'm thinking of. Remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was on Coach.
Right. She was on Coach, and she was also on the Donna Reed show. She had a hit. You remember that hit?
I
Something.
know she was a singer, but I'm sorry, I don't remember what she
I'm trying
said.
to remember the song right now. I've heard it many times. I'm just trying to think of it.
I know she's married to Mike Farrell from MASH,
That's
and
true.
I know was on Coach, and that's kind of, I mean, I know, and then I know her mother was an actress as well, but that's all I don't remember.
She was in Elvis movies too. She was in Elvis and Clambake, and there was Girls, and that did quite a few. I think about three different movies with Elvis, and he was singing her, of course, "Puppet on a String," and that was in I think that was in Clambake. Sang it. I think either Clambake or Girls. Because Girls. I think it might have been. Yeah, that's what it was. But that song, it was a #1 song that she sang. I just can't quite think of it right now. Shelley Fabre.
Yeah,
Johnny,
I'm
something to do
sorry, I
with
don't know
Johnny.
that.
It had Johnny in it, but I can't think of the actual song. It's interesting how it works. When you're trying hard, you can't remember. When you don't try so hard, then it usually comes.
You'll have to IMDb it later.
I'm sure you've had that happen before. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we've all had that happen. We're trying. We're
Or
very
you see the actor's face or the actress's face in your head and you can't think of their name.
I'm just trying to. It was always the parents were there. Donna Reed and her husband and they were smiling, and she sang it. It became a #1 hit. I just can't think of the actual name right now. Oh, it escapes me. Well, it'll come back probably when I'm not thinking about it. That's
It might wake you up tonight at 3 in the morning when you're sound asleep. You'll wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, that's it.
right. Oh yeah, that's true. I hate that when I want to think about it, and for some reason I'm not able to. Oh wow. Well, anyway, I want to ask you, what kind of music? Okay, actually, music. What kind of music do you like yourself? Probably like all kinds of different music, right?
I do. I really do. I have Broadway roots and theater roots, so I really like Broadway musicals. But there's also, like the songs that you grew up with as a kid that reminds you of what it was like when you were in different parts of your life. That's what's so amazing about music, much like theater. When you think about those moments in your life, like you were asking me today about my one person play, and I remember that was when I like first got to town, and then you were asking me about my feature, and then you're asking me about some of my web series, and it's kind of like they mark moments in my life. They're like my artistic children. I don't have children of my own, but they're artistic children. I mean, you remember the stages of your life and what parts of the project went well and what parts of the project didn't go well, and what you learned from it as an artist and as a creative person. But in terms of music, I like all kinds of music. My mother is really into opera, so I've grown to appreciate opera, and I like pop, and I like Broadway, and anything with good lyrics that you can kind of make you feel good. Or that's the beauty of music; it can change your mood. If you need to get ready for a scene, you can put on you can put in your earbuds or headset, and you can listen to a song that will make you sad, or an artist that you'll resonate with. Like for myself, it's somebody like Adina Menzel or somebody like that, where you can really appreciate the lyrics or they mean something to you.
That's true. Put you in the mood, boost you up. If you're down,
Yeah.
you can boost yourself up. Right.
And if you need to change your mood and get yourself in a dark place, you think of a sad song, or usually most of the love songs end up going south at one point. You can put on almost any love song if you need to change your mood.
That's true.
A breakup song.
Right. Oh yeah, breaking up is hard to do. Remember that? Making up is hopefully easier. That was Neil Sedaka. Well, yeah, the great music of the Beatles, the Beach Boys, or all kinds of groups.
And Frank Sinatra, I Did It My Way.
Right. That's
true.
true.
Although Paul Anka wrote that song.
That's true. Paul Anka did. Yeah, he did. Paul Anka did so many. Put Your Head on My Shoulders, Diana. You name it. He did. Have My Baby. He did all kinds of different songs.
And Frank Sinatra made that song really, really famous, but Paul Anka's the one that wrote it.
That's true. Frank Sinatra also did This Lady Is a Tramp, Strangers in the Night. He did all kinds of songs.
Yep.
He was adulated. The problem thing with a lot of the great stars, the problem is they have the talent. The problem is they got involved with the wrong things. Like I said, there's no hope for a dope. The people that getting addicted to the drugs, then it gets worse and worse.
Well, you just got to find a habit that's very positive for you.
Right, exactly.
Drugs and alcohol in excess are not positive in any way, shape, or form. But if you can find a hobby away from the business that's creative, or ways to get rid of your frustration, that's the way to stay healthy and happy, in my humble opinion.
Well, I used to, as you saw, if you see the Dimples, I used to love doing the karaoke and all kinds. That was a favorite place of mine. In fact, I have an interview with the owner, Sal Ferraro, who was the owner and creator of Dimples. I did that recently. And
that's fantastic.
That was a beautiful place. Unfortunately, though, because of the pandemic, things changed now. The last weekend, I was doing karaoke at a place called El Torito in Sherman Oaks. And then the next night was another favorite, is Ireland 32. But all of a sudden, that was it. The pandemic hit. And now the things that we took for granted now are not the same. I mean, so many people have passed from this, and a lot of people are hurting financially. And, then you have to wear your mask, and it's important to get your vaccinations, of course, which I just picked up my couple. I don't know about, did you get your vaccinations yet?
I am scheduled to do that next week. I finally got an appointment. So yes.
Good. That's important. And staying 6 feet, and then with the mask and everything. So I don't see the bars and karaoke. I see that being the last thing. The problem is that you can spread germs easily in the bar, and maybe someone will invent a microphone that's germ-free, or something with sanitizer where it's automatically sanitized. Something that you won't get that. But right now. So because of all that, now we do have the internet, which I was going to film in person, but because of the pandemic, that didn't happen. But maybe I'm better off this way, because now I don't have to put myself or anyone at risk by filming on Zoom on the internet, you see. So,
Well, that's the beauty of Zoom. I mean, there is a learning curve with an interview, or doing sit-down comedy over Zoom is quite different because, especially if the people choose to have their cameras off and their microphones off, you're doing it straight into camera, and sometimes you don't know if your jokes are landing. So when I do a Zoom show, I always ask people to leave their microphones on and leave their camera on if they're comfortable, because that way, even though there's a slight delay because of the technology, I know when the joke lands, even if it's a couple seconds later.
that's beautiful. That really is. Well, Eileen Gruber recommended me to you. I had a great interview with you, as you know, recently.
Yeah, I saw it.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And
Yes.
I am really glad that she recommended me to be talking to you and interviewing you. I really am. You are.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always lovely to talk to other people that want to do positive things, and I always try to be supportive of people that are creating their own content and their own path in this crazy industry we call Hollywood.
Well, you know what? Don Grabowski, you have and continue to have a most exciting and very fulfilling and wonderful, lovely life. And you inspire people, you motivate them, you have a wonderful smile, you're warm and friendly. I can't compliment you enough. That's all I can say, and everything. Yes, you are. That's phenomenal. And how can people, if people want to find out more about you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, I think the best way would be my website, which is my name, dawngrabowski.com. So it's DAWNGRABOWSKI, and it's .com, dawngrabowski.com. All my information is there. And as you clicked around and found out, Johnny, there's 3 web series on there and 2 short films and a comedy sizzle reel and two voiceover demos and lots of content for people to look at and enjoy. And hopefully, I'll have more work and be able to work with some more amazing A-list actors and continue to move forward with my own projects, and people will be able to find me that way as well.
Well, I want to say that your last name is Grabowski. You definitely grab the attention and interest of myself, and I'm sure many other people.
Thank you so much.
Whether they be regular or just any regardless of their circumstance, you have that captivating personality about you, the smile and the warmth and the determination and the passion to go forward, to keep on making things go forward and happy and successful.
Passion and persistence and positive frame of mind to manifest what I want in this world. And if I could just add really quickly, if any of your viewers want to follow me on social media, it's always my name. So it's Facebook and Twitter, it's Dawn Grabowski. And on Instagram, you just flip it, it's Grabowski Dawn. So just look for my name and it's me. And there's usually a picture of me attached to my social media. So if any of your viewers happen to want to be on social media, that's another way that they can reach out to me.
Great. A chance to see my document. A chance to see the movie trailer on Johnny.
I've seen the trailer, yes.
Okay, great. It's called Gong, not Gone, but Gong, but not forgotten. The original Johnny Blaze story. Former Gong Show winner, which I am, and Elvis impersonator, which I am, strives to host his own late night talk show.
So I have to ask you, what do you think of Chuck Berry's movie that he did with George Clooney where he said he was a spy?
You know what? You read my mind. I was going to mention that. That's when I knew I wanted to say something about George Clooney. It was a movie called Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, it had George Clooney and Julia Roberts in it, and he said that he was a spy in it, and it was supposed to be based on his life.
You're right. Drew Barrymore was in that too.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
That's correct. What it was is he was playing Chuck Barris's role, game show producer by day, and a CIA assassin at night. So
do you believe it, since you knew Chuck Barris?
Not really. I think it was just a gimmick to get people in to watch the film and to see it. But it flopped at the box office. It didn't succeed. Oh yeah.
Well, I had to ask you, since you actually worked with him and were on the Gong show, I had to get your perspective on it.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me because I was going to mention that, and for some reason I was going to say it, and then all of a sudden I didn't. But I'm glad you brought that up again. That's great. Yeah.
Well, I remember that George Clooney did an interview. I think at the time it was on David Letterman, and he was talking about how Chuck Barris came to, this was prior to his marriage, came to his house for Thanksgiving dinner. And this was right when the movie was coming out. And he had talked about that on, I believe it was David Letterman.
Really? Chuck Barris was interesting. He had a book called, best-selling book called You and Me, Babe. He wrote that too, about his memoirs in Paris. But I'll tell you one thing, Chuck Barris really, as great as his show was funny, it was silly, it was very successful. They tried to bring it back and it flopped, the Gong show. It was not like the shows that I was involved with him. But there was something he did. He loved his daughter, but his daughter, she got involved with drugs, unfortunately. And I think she asked for help. She wanted to have a father, and he just totally turned his back on her. He told her, he just gave her money and told her to go, and instead of being there, caring about his daughter. And she ended up overdosing and killing herself. It was terrible. Not intentional.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, that was sad. That was very sad. She used to introduce Chuck, her father. She used to say, "Oh, this is my daddy," on the show. Yeah. Anyway, so another thing with the Chris Beard, I told you, like I mentioned, the first time on television, somebody said, "You can't do, you're going to get Gong." So I did the song All Shook Up. I shook him up all right. I said, "You're wrong, I'm going to win," and won. And that was so exciting. And then when they called me back on the new show, hosted by True Dawn Blue, somebody said to me, some of his staff said, I said, "If you don't like what I'm doing," I said, "I'm going to leave." They were really rude to me, right? So I took off. He called me back at my house and he said, "Johnny, you can do Teddy Bear, you can do whatever you want." So that was exciting. I'll never forget that. In fact, I did see Chris Beard there was a movie on Elvis, and he was talking about how Elvis ate up the stage, just devoured it and everything. It was a whole documentary about Elvis.
Well, you got to have that presence and that confidence when you step out there, whether it be on stage or Zoom or whatever. You got to have that presence to move forward.
I agree. I truly agree with you. Oh yeah, truly, we're in agreement, Don. That's right. So maybe when the Don goes down, you're the Don. You go right up. I'm making a joke, but no, it's true. But it's true. It's true. No, like I said, I can't compliment you enough. The warmth, the friendliness, the smile comes through all the way around, and you love what you're doing, and it shows. That's for sure.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing your time and your talent with your technical staff and yourself. I really appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I really do, and I have no regrets. I'm very happy. I really prepared hard, like I always do for all of my interviews, Don. And to me, this is very special talking to you. It really is. So what I do want to say, Don, I want to thank my special guest, Don Grabowski, and to all my fans and friends, ladies and gentlemen, always keep a smile on your face and a song in your heart. Happy trails and blaze out. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be a guest on an entertainment talk show, please send us an email at amazingoriginalJBshow@gmail.com. All our guests will receive a complimentary DVD of their appearance on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing original Johnny Blaze has just left the building. Good night and God bless.